Pops, and I finished my filing, and you can see here I've filed both sides of the blade, and you can see a lot of scratches on there all the way across. So what I'm going to do now is I'm actually going to use a little 1x30 belt sander that I've got right here, and I've got, I think it's 220 grit on it. And what I'm going to do is just sand a lot of these large scratches off that I made with the file, and kind of smooth it out. And what I'll do is after I get done with this, then I'll probably use some 220 grit sandpaper and just hand sand the rest of it. But I'll just give you a brief video showing me filing, or sanding, sanding this blank blade here with this sander. Now you can use, and I'll show you later how to use you can do this by hand. You can sand this by hand. You can start off with maybe 80 grit to 180 grit to 220 grit. But what I found is just a lot faster if you've got the tools. And again, if you got the tools, I recommend you use it. If you don't, you can still build a knife. That was no problem. Matter of fact, I think this little belt sander that I found here, I found it at a yard sale for like $20, and I made sure it worked before I left. And you can still buy the belts at Lowe's, and it works great. And let's go ahead and do that, a little video of that. Tell from this, a lot of the scratches are disappearing. You can still see some on a blade itself, on a bevel. I still got to go there, but it took a good bit of the heavy scratches out, and that's what I'm looking for right now. Just take a lot of the heavy scratches out, and I'll be doing that with the blade. And that's basically what I've been doing. All of the, see if I can really see it, the scratches here I should be able to take out. And once I get that done, I'll show you going back in the garage. I'm in my shed right now, but going back in the garage, I'll hand sand that out right there. And also the edge itself, the sharp edge, I want to keep that not as sharp. So you'll actually see me. Well, what I'll actually do, if it's getting too sharp, I'll actually go through and unsharpen it, try to narrow it down a little bit just by putting my blade like that. That way when I harden it, I won't really have a problem with that. And the edge is still pretty thick, so I really don't have to worry about it yet. So I'll let you know when I'm hand sanding next. Hello, this is Bama Pops again, and I've finished sanding my blade with an electric belt sander, and I'm just going to do some fine sanding now. Now, one of the things I've already done, I've done most of this work already. I just want to demonstrate on how to sand it, do some fine sanding before I heat treat. And again, I don't want to go overboard with it, but I do want to get out all of those heavy scratches that I made with a file. And what I do is I use a regular sheet of sandpaper, and I get a paint stirrer, and on the back of that I got some adhesive plastic that I bought or plastic rubber adhesive on one side that I bought at a hobby store. Cut the paint stirrer off, put it on there, and you'll see how I use this in just a minute. As far as the sandpaper, I use about 100 grit, 180 grit to 220 grit, no higher than 220 grit. And what I'm doing is taking a look at the blade and say, okay, if I've really got some heavy duty scratches, do I need to use the 100 grit or the 180 grit or the 220 grit? And right now, I've still got just a few scratches here, so I want to get those out. It looks like to me I need to really start with 180 grit and go to the 220. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and put this on and just kind of mount it so I can start that. And just so you'll kind of see, maybe you can see on there, there's a few scratches right in this area here that I want to get out. So again, let's kind of demonstrate that. One of the things you definitely have to do is be careful with this, because you see the point of the knife is sticking out from the workbench. So really be careful when you're standing up or sitting down or backing into it. I only mount this when I'm going to file. No other time will I mount this like this. All right. So I've got this. I want to select my 180, and what I'll do is to take. It's very flexible. You'll see how I'll use it in a second, and then I'll put the smooth side on the plastic or the rubber side of this, kind of curl up the ends here, and then I've got a flexible sanding tool here. And what you want to do is really go sand it like this. And I learned this on the Sugar Creek Forge videos, the build along contest on how to sand a knife blade. And what you do is sand one direction until you can get some of the rough things out, and you'll see the little scratches in the sandpaper, and then sand in the other direction, a 90-degree angle, to get that out, and that will continually expose the heavy cracks or scratches that you might have whenever you do your filing. So I've got a few scratches here. I'm going to go in this direction. Right now it's going in this direction. I'm going to go in this direction. I can either go like this, or I can use it like this. Kind of bring it to me. And you can see the black here as I go through. You can see that it's kind of taken it off already. And I've got a little rag here. And I've got a little vacuum cleaner here, but to stop the noise, I'll just get my little towel here and kind of move all of that. And what I can do is I can actually see now the sand paper with this fine scratches going in this direction. That's in this direction. And I'm taking a look right now to see through the light here. I've got a little light if those are out there, and it's kind of looks like it's already kind of taking it off. But I'm going to give it one more here, like so. That looks pretty good. Don't really see any more. All right. So now to expose to see if I've got anything else, I'm going to go to the 220 or the finer grit sandpaper. And again, I cut the strip of sandpaper from this just to fit on this. Put it here. And here's where the really power of this little simple tool comes from, is that I'm going to be sanding this time in this direction. And I've got my bevel here, and you can kind of really see when I'm sanding this how great, hopefully the camera can see it, how great it kind of looks, because right now just sanding the top here, you can kind of see on top of the blade the edge right here. I hadn't touched that yet. I'll have to go to a little bitty angle to get that, but I'm going to go here with a 220 sandpaper, and I can kind of stand too and kind of see. And now I can go like this, and then I can really work it. Blade's moving just a little bit. And I can take a look, and I can actually see now just how much I've taken off of the edging, and there's a little bit there. I might have to work a little bit harder there. So what I'm going to do is just kind of concentrate just in that area where those heavy scratches are still at there. Kind of get that out. Got that out. And of course I would do that with the other side. Now my finished product when I do this is that I want a kind of like a nickel satin finish on the blade itself. If you can kind of see here, it's kind of a nickel satin finish, and I've got it up to where my handle and is going to meet the blade here in this area here. So I actually go and sand very fine here under my handle and my tang. I will scratch it up. I just do that on my belt sander. There's no use to do any fine sanding in that area. But right now I'm ready to go ahead and put this guy here in a forge, heat it, harden it, and clean it up a little bit, and then I'll temper it after that. And the hardening and tempering will be for the next video. Thank you.